Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today's guest is Dr. Les Lockridge. Welcome to the show, Doctor.
Thanks for having me back, Scott.
Yeah, you haven't been on for a while.
It's been, I think, between 6 months and a year.
Yeah, the last time you were on the show, I think you were drawing blood from me on the air.
I wasn't drawing the blood. I was preparing to help you when you passed out.
Right, but I didn't pass out.
You did not pass out. For the record, you stayed conscious the whole time.
But one of your nurses did draw blood for my blood work, and I can't remember what the topic was, but...
It was the lab that we incorporated into the clinic building.
Right. How's the lab working out?
Lab's working out beautifully.
Right, and I understand it's a lot cheaper than other options.
I can't speak for them, but from my observations on most things, they're considerably cheaper than your other immediate choices.
Right. So you're here today.
Is it possible for us to go to the film vault and show a clip of you getting your blood drawn?
Oh, I'm sure the wonders of technology you could.
I'm getting the yes. Good.
So you're here today basically to talk about what is going on in your practice, because I think you've been here. Have you been in practice for 8 years, or have you owned your practice for 8 years?
Oh, I guess it depends on when you start the clock, but I finished my medical training in 2002.
Right.
So I've been in full practice out of training for, close to 18 years now. I graduated from medical school in '96. I think that's 24 years ago.
Wow.
Oh, I can't believe it.
You know, isn't it?
But I've had my private practice for 8 years.
Right. And how's that been going?
Good. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of stress. A lot of issues that you do not expect when you're going into it, but it's very satisfying to get things right.
You know what I like about your practice? Because for full disclosure, I have a couple different, not conflicts, connections to you. Is I went from Dr. Wood, who I believe was also your doctor.
That's right.
And he was a private doctor who wasn't owned by anybody. And I realize times have changed where a lot of doctors do feel that they do have to be owned by a hospital. But I feel more comfortable to have a relationship with a doctor who isn't. So I went from Dr. Wood. When he retired, I went to you.
Right. Well, I can say this. First of all, you and I still have the same doctor. And second of all...
As in yourself.
As in me.
Yeah, because I'm not going to treat you for anything. I can write about your illness, but...
That will probably have to change soon. But I can't say whether anyone employed by a hospital is going to practice differently because they're employed by the hospital. All I can say is I practice the way that I see fit.
Right.
And for me, that's the most comfortable position.
Right, because I agree with you. I think there's many fine doctors who are employed by hospitals. I think the way the system is, it's almost, you have to really want to own a practice to do it, because Dr. Wood used to always talk about the mountain of paperwork.
Mountain of paperwork. Unbelievable bureaucratic red tape that's got to be cut through on a really regular basis with limited hands to operate the scissors.
Now we'll go talk about another part of my connection to you. Is one of your newest employees is one of the people helping to cut through the bureaucracy.
That's true. Someone you know very well. Your wife, Penny Wheeler, is our new office manager.
Is she as talented as I am?
I think she's exactly as talented as you get credit for.
No, she, even in our business, she's the brains of the outfit. I'm just the looks.
Yeah, she's the brains of our operation too.
So,
She's doing a fantastic job, and solving a lot of problems, making life easier for me.
yeah, well, we actually, I kind of hated to lose her because she worked at North Country, as you know, hospital for 22 years as clinical informatics. And then she joined me full time in our business, and then you attracted her away from me.
Well,
And
to be fair, we split her now.
right, that's
We
true.
split her. She still works part-time for you and part-time for me.
Right. But I do think you got a great employee.
Yeah, I'm lucky. Clinical informatics is really just the tip of the iceberg of what she did at the hospital. She's very savvy about the business aspect of medicine. We're lucky to have her.
And she's very savvy about business because the IRS would have had me in jail years ago for something because you can go in, you could look at our books and they're flawless. You look at hers, but you look at mine, and if it wasn't for her, I know I'd be, I would have been right down here with Epstein or something.
I hope not.
So, and then you have your latest arrival.
Yeah. We have a couple of veterans of the Northeast Kingdom medical scene coming in. Your wife, of course, who a lot of people don't realize did all the billing for the pharmacy for many years, and also was in the informatics department and was really, had her finger on the pulse of North Country Hospital for a long, long time. And Kelly Munier has recently agreed to join our staff. Some of you may remember her from her time in Dr. Numera's office or possibly Dr. Mosley's office well before that.
And you also have a new nurse.
That's right. Tammy Kennison has come back to work for us on a little more regular basis. She did work for us on a limited basis for a while, a couple of years back. She was one of our clinical emissaries over to Columbia. But when our relationship with them ended, we didn't have hours for her. Now we've built up some hours for her. So she's working there.
Right.
And doing a great job spelling our fantastic nurse, Kathy DiCarlo, who leads a very fulfilling but very hectic lifestyle.
Right. And then, do you have any other new staff?
Yes, we have new front office staff, Tori Papalardo. She's Mike and Tanya Papalardo's daughter that people may remember from Mike's Electric.
Okay. But even though he's not new, you have another doctor with your practice who's very important to it.
Yeah, Bruce Latham comes to us for occupational medicine clinics, and he runs a very good clinic there doing CDLs, pre-employment physicals, occasional workman's comp, and he's a great asset to the community, a place that has a great need for CDL and other occupational medicine roles.
Right. Who needs CDLs?
It's a lot of people. There are a lot of people out there that need CDLs that I don't think everyone would really guess are going to require that type of license. Anybody who drives commercially needs a CDL. The criteria I don't know word for word, but that's basically it. And there are so many people in this community that need to get their CDLs. It's a big burden for people around here to have to drive as far as they otherwise would have to. And we're glad that Bruce can come and do some of that. He's given us the word of late that he may be able to expand his clinic days here. So we may actually have a CDL day every week, Right now, we have it every other week or 2 out of 3. So anybody out there needing a CDL in the Newport area, contact NEKHO.
And he also does employee physicals?
Yeah, he does pre-employment physicals. We also do pre-employment drug testing, respiratory testing, audiology, basically anything that you would need occupational health-wise.
Right.
I do a lot of workman's comp, and mainly because it's got to be available almost every day of the week.
You know, I've heard some people are getting tripped up with the drug testing because they're underneath the mistaken understanding that because Vermont now has legalized marijuana, it's not legal on the national level, and on certain certain requirements, you can't even have marijuana in your system.
That's absolutely right. It's still federally illegal, and at least theoretically, you are disqualified from having a CDL with a positive marijuana test.
Now, what about the other, the derivative of marijuana that they're selling now?
CBD?
Yes. Does that
CBD
show
or
up
hemp products?
Does that show up in a drug test?
That's a tough question. It's going to be dependent on which drug test you actually take.
Right.
CBD does have THC in it. It's an extremely low amount, but there's no way that you can breed the marijuana plant to produce 0 THC. At least it doesn't appear to be possible. But there's very tight regulation on exactly how much THC can be in every plant, and it's a trivial amount. So your standard urinary drug tox screen will not show marijuana from CBD, or at least should not come up positive for THC. Very sensitive one, a very sensitive assay, particularly one that is specifically designed to pick that up only. You do have a little bit of a risk of coming up positive.
Now, this is off the topic a little bit, but I've got to ask you, right now, if you were to believe everything you read, and if you see it on the news, of course it's real, not, CBD oil and such, does it actually work? Because right now they have it just about curing everything.
You have to remember, this country was built by snake oil salesmen. The Wild West was full of wagons that had self-anointed physicians going around marketing their snake oils, things that were basically good for what ails you. And their claims had just as much veracity as a lot of the claims have today, because there's not really a lot of regulation on claims for supplements. Here's what we do know. The CBD products and THC products do have roles in healthcare. They are good anti-seizure medicines. They are good for neuropathic pain. They are good for nausea. They are good for glaucoma. Beyond that, it gets awfully murky. There's a lot of different studies being done out there, and they are conflicting at best, let's say.
So in other words, you wouldn't want somebody fighting cancer just using CBD oil.
No, I don't think that's going to work out very well.
Right. Well, do you realize, I've written about this at one time, and it wasn't too many decades ago, 75 years ago, and well, actually further this way, is they viewed cigarettes as a healthy product that has medicinal value, such as help with weight loss. It calmed your nerves. And I'm not sure, did you you probably came onto the medical scene a bit late when you could actually, when doctors might actually offer a cigarette to a patient.
Yeah, that was before my time. They took all the ashtrays out of the hospitals before I got there.
Right. But no, so in other words is I'm always wary of new things, but on the other hand, we do things, traditional medicine, or the medicine that a lot of doctors use. I'm sure there's going to be parts of that people are going to look back on and think, what the heck were they thinking of? Some of your quote cures.
Oh, yeah. It's not going to be very long before we look at bone marrow transplants as completely brutal, barbaric. The idea of taking someone else's immune system and putting it into a different body, and that body surviving, is really pretty far-flung. The more that we understand human physiology, the scarier actually it looks. And slowly we are relegating bone marrow transplant, just for example, to the back of the line where it comes to treatment options as more effective and tolerable treatments come out there. You've got to remember, nicotine isn't inherently evil. It's like any other drug. It's got physiologic activity. It's going to do something. And there are times when you will want to alter physiology in that way. Any drugs that are physiologically active are probably going to be useful. There's a drug that actually stops people's hearts on purpose, and it is clinically useful. It's a drug called adenosine. Same thing for just about any type of physiologically active substance out there. Cocaine actually has clinical applications. It's like anything else. It's a tool, like a car.
Right.
The greatest invention in the history of man if used right, and a deadly weapon if used improperly.
Well, when Austin's drugstore closed in Orleans after 100 and something years, they actually had to have a hazardous waste team go down into cellar because you had medicines which are now viewed as hazardous waste, and they had cocaine, they had heroin, and they actually had to have a hazardous waste team go in.
Oh, that doesn't surprise me. One of my professors at Yale used to tell us stories about when they used mercury as a diuretic.
Right.
He was about to retire.
I remember in school, because I assume mercury isn't really good for you to be playing with.
Stay away from mercury, kids.
And I remember in school people would break mercury thermometers and play with the beads as it bounced around.
Yeah, recommended against.
Yeah. You've told me before, because you're also you're adult internal medicine.
That's correct.
And you're also an oncologist. And you tell me that this is actually a pretty good time if you're going to get cancer. This is a better time than, say, when you first started.
In the important ways.
Yeah.
Our technology is so much better. Our view of the landscape is so much better, both in terms of our molecular understanding of cancer and its mechanisms, and in terms of us knowing what works for who. We do a really magnificent job of fighting tough diseases now because we've got the tools in our tool belt for it. It doesn't mean that we're beating cancer, but we are doing a much better job than we ever have in the history of humanity. Having said that, the insurance companies now, I think most of my patients have heard me say this by now, are terrorist organizations. The way that they behave towards cancer survivors is just unconscionably callous. So it's often difficult to get people the treatment that they need, the treatment that will work best for them, the treatment that they will live the best on.
Right. I know Dr. Wood and I used to have this talk, and he said every once in a while he would ask the person denying from the insurance company denying that the patient needed that care. He'd say, well, where did you go to med school? Oh, I didn't go to med school. And so we only have about 10 more minutes. What more would you like to talk about your practice?
Well, I want to encourage everybody to get their flu shots. The flu shot is pretty readily available at all the pharmacies and at our clinic. The flu has not hit in full force yet. We did have a couple of cases actually late last year, but the epidemic really hasn't hit yet. You still have time to get your flu shot. I would strongly encourage it. It does save lives.
Right. And you know the thing is I'm sure you hear this all the time. Somebody gets the flu shot, and then they come down with the stomach bug. See, the flu shot doesn't work. No, they're different. Because I will tell you, you probably know this, there's a stomach bug going around that, according to my daughter, if you want instant weight loss, if you could bottle that stuff, but that wasn't the flu. It was
Right.
some kind of, what would you call something like that?
Gastroenteritis. It's a GI virus. Would not be the flu. The flu has very little, if any, impact on your gastrointestinal tract. This is something more like rotavirus or Norwalk virus, and it's about as pleasant as getting the flu, but it's very different. The flu shot will not protect you from that.
No. I don't believe I've gotten the flu after, I don't believe I've ever contracted it later on. So, so what else? Anything else big going? Oh, the Brew Fest is coming up.
Brewfest is coming up in 6 months,
Well, yeah, but
which means it's time for us to start working on it 3 months ago.
right.
Now, we'll have another Brewfest this year. We're hoping to do it at the Top of the World barn again. We had a great time last year. Everybody should come. It's a fantastic scene.
We're going to whether Hillary and Todd knows it. I'm putting them on notice right now. They're coming on the show, and I hope to possibly broadcast from the venue.
That'd be awesome. We'd
Angie will
we'd
be
really
there, too.
enjoy that. Yeah,
Because to tell you the truth, I have not been to the top of the world, as in we call the top of the world, since probably high school, junior high rabbit hunting.
Yeah, I understand that was quite a hangout back in the high school days.
Yeah, and it was also a rabbit hunting area for us, and so I haven't been up there since because they have an old barn that they had moved up there, correct?
That's right, an 1800s barn that they moved plank by plank up there, reassembled, and then appointed and refurbished really nicely.
I hate making puzzles, so nothing to say about taking a barn apart and numbering the pieces, then putting it back up. I wouldn't view that as fun.
It sounds pretty complicated. I don't know if I could do it.
Right. Well, I do think it was kind of nice of the office manager to give you the time off to come over for the show, though.
Yeah, she once in a while lets me out and lets me eat.
Yeah, I was hoping to get her on, but as you will find in your business, as it is with my business, she knows what she's doing. No ifs, ands, or buts. She's the best in the business, but she wants to be the person behind the curtain.
Yeah, she definitely wants to fade into the background.
Yeah.
But yeah, make no mistake, she's excellent, really good driving force.
Right. So what else? You got Brewfest coming up. Anything? Well, you also, just to mention, the Brewfest goes towards your patient caring fund.
Our patient caring fund. We've had this basically since we opened our doors. The idea is providing funds to people that need them for some of the unseen costs of healthcare. Things like gas to go get their radiation treatments, medication co-pays, deductibles. We've paid for dentures or part of dentures, we paid part of eyeglasses, even housing, oil bills, that kind of thing, depending on the circumstance. we've helped a lot of people with that patient caring fund, and I'm very proud of that.
Right. And they don't have to be your patients. Is that correct?
The definition is oncology and other patients from Orleans County and beyond. So it's pretty open.
Right. And you also have a good working relationship with the NEKHO folks.
Absolutely. They've been very good to our clinic from the day that we opened, and that relationship continues to get strengthened and is culminated with Brewfest.
Can you imagine those Wright boys? They lost both their parents. Bang, bang. Just back to back. One died to cancer. The other one died of I'm sure there's no, I'm sure it's not a medical definition of broken heart, but then instead of just mourning their loss, they and their partners started the NEKHO Fund, which helps out people battling cancer.
Yeah, making something good out of a tragedy. I knew Mary and Ulrich very well, as you know, and saw both of them very shortly before they passed. That was sad. That was tough to take from the outside. You really have to commend the family for their strength in taking that tragedy and doing something positive with it.
Right. Okay. Well, we're just about ready to wrap up. Do you have any final words?
Get your flu shot, and we'll have CDLs at NEKHO until the end of time.
Okay. Thank you for coming on.
Pleasure. Thank you, Scott.
And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.